Chapter 221, Forceful Control. Of course Steamed Bun Invasion would be the one to sandtoss Zhang Yu's crowd lover. Ever since Blossom Valley's two unfortunate players were sent flying into Tyrannical Ambitions group by Lord Grimm, they had become human meat bullets. Their remaining member, their guild leader Backlight Bomb, didn't have any helpers and was unable to beat Steamed Bun Invasion in close combat. Once Backlight Bomb fell, Crowd Lover was sent over, making Steamed Bun Invasion very happy. In reality, in terms of skill level, Zhang Yu was better than Steamed Bun Invasion. But before he was able to adjust his camera after being sent flying, he was blinded by a sand toss. Elementalists were even worse than Spitfires in close combat. Zhang Yu was experienced though and immediately cast an electric ring. This skill came out extremely quickly and created a lightning ring around his body. Zhang Yu wanted to use this skill to make Steamed Bun Invasion hesitate. But a brawler was a brawler. Steamed Bun didn't care about a bit of damage and continued to fight like usual. As soon as Zhang Yu made the control to make his character stand up, he was punched and then clawed by Steamed Bun Invasion. When Crowd Lover's blind wore off, he saw the brawler locking onto his throat and his health rapidly dropping. At this moment, concentrated fire came. Su Mucheng's anti-tank missiles and laser rifle shot over. Lord Grimm also sent over a few presents. It's over. Zhang Yu understood very clearly. His elementalist had low defense cloth armor and low health. There was no way he could last long in this situation. What about his teammates? Zhang Yu's camera swiveled over. He would rather get blinded again than watch anymore. Circle swing, back throw, wave wheel slasher, barbecue, no class at level 30 had so many grab techniques, even grapplers. All of Lord Grimm's skills were these short cooldown low-leveled skills. After using them all, the cooldowns would be back up and he could continuously confuse his opponent. Zhang Yu watched as his teammates were grabbed by Lord Grimm one after the other and were all thrown until they had no idea what they were doing anymore. F***CK, Crowd Lover's health finally dropped to 0. When he fell, he saw Lord Grimm throw another person over, his team's cleric. Steamed Bun Invasion jumped over and punched the cleric. At least, there was no more talking from him. Zhang Yu could no longer hear anymore. Where are you guys? Zhang Yu revived back to the city and swiftly sent Cold Knight a message. In all of his years at gaming, he had been stepped on like this in the new server of all places. How could he accept this? Almost there. How are you guys holding up? Cold Knight replied. Dead, Zhang Yu angrily replied. Cold Knight didn't know what to say. The guild leader was already very mad. How have you guys arranged it? That place is an intersection. Don't let them escape. Yeah, the dungeon entrance has our people from our side. If they catch up, then we should be able to surround them from every direction, Cold Knight said. Should, Zhang Yu dug out the word. We didn't have time to research the map, Cold Knight said. Then hurry up, Zhang Yu was extremely annoyed. He wanted to know his teammates' situations, but they definitely didn't have the time to reply. Tyrannical Ambitions 4 experts were still hanging on. However, Voidwalk's 3 players were already unable to hold out and turned into corpses one after the other. Tang Ru and Chao Yifan had killed them off. Yishu was currently 2v5ing with Su Mucheng. The 5 players looked as if they were being extremely badly, but in reality, their life wasn't dropping very fast. In order to control the field, Yishu had to give up on a lot of opportunities to inflict heavy damage on an opponent. Many skills weren't able to be used. He had the ability to kill off 1 or 2 of the players, but if he did that, then the others might escape. Yishu didn't want players to interrupt in the other 2 battles. As a result, he had forcefully controlled his opponents. At this moment, Tang Ru and Chao Yifan finally arrived and joined in on Yishu's battle. With support, Yishu immediately erupted and turned to combo an opponent next to him. Hurry, Yishu shouted. Chao Yifan's sword boundary was released and Tang Ru began fighting within it. Su Mucheng's entire offensive was concentrated here. Steamed Bun Invasion was only dealing with a cleric, so he didn't need any help. Blossom Valley's players fell first. Only Tyrannical Ambitions experts remained. Among the normal player base, they were definitely top-tier experts. Unfortunately, they were trying to fight with a top-tier god among the pro scene. Lord Grimm was even able to bully Tiny Herb's pro players. Such a one-sided battle already hurt their confidence. More players are coming, Tang Ru suddenly called as she continued to dish out damage. Yi Shu's heart couldn't help but drop. There was no way they could continue fighting like this. Ignoring all else, they didn't have enough mana. If Tang Ru and Steamed Bun Invasion hadn't learned about how to conserve mana during battle, then they probably would have run out already. Besides being unable to continue battling, Yi Shu was also worried about reinforcement arriving. The reason he didn't let a single person go before was because he thought that there was enough time to kill off everyone. But if another dungeon team came, Yi Shu looked, but discovered that the players coming might not be a hindrance. Hey, you just finished dungeoning? Yi Shu greeted this team. The team's players slowed down. Cough, you're killing? The other side slowly said. Blue River was speaking. This team was from Blue Brook Guild. Yi Shu had met with the others, Bound Boat, Thundering Light, Returning Cloud, etc. long ago. The people behind the computers were all staring forward with grotesque faces. Yup, Yi Shu replied while sending an opponent flying. Blue River and the others watched as the player flew up and then fell. They were completely silent. They had no intent on joining the battle and also didn't seem to want to leave either. Blue Bridge, you coward. A few dungeon records and you're scared, someone suddenly cursed. Only Heavenly Domain players who knew him would call Blue River, Blue Bridge. Could he be an expert from Tyrannical Ambition's headquarters? Blue River was startled. He took another look at them. Even though he wasn't able to tell who it was from his voice, he already figured out who they were by looking at their classes. Blue River suddenly felt quite good. Sigh, today's my birthday, so I'll be going off early. I'll be on my way then, have fun, everyone, Blue River said. He didn't look on any further and led his team away. Do you know any shame, Blue Bridge? Tyrannical Ambition was still talking to him. Chapter 222, Searching for Tracks. Even though Tyrannical Ambition's top experts hadn't participated in the pursuit for Lord Grimm, they understood their situation in the 10th server. Blue Brook Guild should be feeling more pressed to suppress Lord Grimm than they were. But after Blue Brook Guild was stepped on in Desolate Land, they seemed to have stayed outside of matters. Were they scared? Or had they reached an agreement with Lord Grimm? Or did they have some other scheme up their sleeves? No one knew. Their current movement would have benefited every guild in the 10th server that was competing for dungeon records. Even though Blue Brook Guild was currently in the worst state, who would look down on Blue Brook Guild's strength? As soon as Lord Grimm was suppressed, Blue Brook Guild would jump back as one of the strongest contenders for the dungeon records, especially since they wouldn't have sacrificed anyone to suppress Lord Grimm. How could the other guilds just let Blue Brook Guild take advantage of their hard-earned win like that? Originally, competing for dungeon records was up to the player and facing against other opponents was also up to the player. But because of one another's interests, such simple rules no longer belonged. As a result, everyone created a hidden set of rules that everyone had to uphold. Those who hadn't participated in the elimination of Lord Grimm would not have the qualifications to fight for the dungeon records. This was what the 7 guilds who had participated were thinking. In their eyes, Blue Brook Guild wasn't upholding the rules. Seeing how Blue River wasn't going to help them, they could clearly see his attitude towards this subject. This was why Tyrannical Ambition's expert was extremely spiteful and was loudly looking down upon them. However, this wouldn't change Blue River's decision, it wouldn't change their current plight. 3 players quickly became 2 players. 2 players quickly became 1 player. When the last player fell, Steamed Bun Invasion also finished up with his cleric. Currently, they could hear footsteps closing in from a distance. They're here. Run, Yi Shu said. But only after running a bit, he suddenly stopped. After waiting for the others to catch up, he suddenly headed towards the left fork, this way. Stick close to the side. This is. To avoid the dead player's eyes, Chao Yifan noticed that Blade Master's corpse was still there. However, he didn't know how large his ghost camera was. Yeah, Yi Shu said. Lord Grimm led the way, while the others followed closely behind in a line. Pay attention to any players you see, Yi Shu said again. In order to find where we were, besides blocking the entrances to Line Canyon, they also sent players over to keep watch at the various dungeon entrances. Right now, they know where we are, so players from the dungeon will be heading over there, Yi Shu said. How come they still know where we are? Su Mucheng exclaimed. It's just a possibility, Yi Shu said. What do you mean? Turn this way, Yi Shu changed directions again. Don't tell me you want to find a route where we'll avoid everyone, Su Mucheng said. It's not that complicated, Yi Shu smiled. We just have to take a long detour to stay as far away as possible from them. Here, this way, Yi Shu continued to lead the way. Less than a minute after Yi Shu's group left, at the place where a great battle recently took place, the troops from the 7 guilds finally arrived. On the way, they bumped into Blue Brook Guild's group. Blue River was still as calm as ever, and he, along with Bound Boat and the others, were looked down on as they passed by each other. 4 of the 7 guilds began to burn with anger after seeing the tragedy. Some of the vestiges of battle hadn't yet disappeared yet. Blood, smoke, sword scars. In just a few short minutes, the elite teams of each of the 4 guilds had been wiped out. Tyrannical ambition lost the most. 2 of their teams had been wiped out, including their team that the guild leaders personally led. Just how strong is Lord Grimm? Cold Knight thought as he looked at the rage messages sent by Zhang Yu. With the situation being like this, the news about the elite teams from each of their 4 guilds had already been spread. The other 3 guilds expressed their sympathies, but they knew that they were laughing at them on the inside. Only Chen Yahui wasn't surprised by the outcome. He was the only one understood just how strong their opponents were. He had once used numbers to try and bully the few, and the result? How could these elite experts compare to their excellent dynasties players? Though unfortunately, Herb Garden and Royal Heritage hadn't been touched in all of this. Chen Yahui thought as he looked at the players from these 2 guilds. He felt that their half-heartedness was a little suspicious, especially Herb Garden. They were one of the 3 great guilds, but among all of them, Herb Garden had sent the fewest number of players and their movements were also the slowest. Chen Yahui suspected that Herb Garden had other plans just like them. Lord Grimm went this way. After the Blade Master revived, he sent a message to Cold Knight, telling him the direction they went towards. Directions from another corpse? Lonely Drink had experienced scouting out as a corpse. Yeah. Then it might not be accurate, Lonely Drink said. At that time in Kanji Forest, Lonely Drink's directions had been wrong. So we should exclude this direction? That Lonely Drink wasn't confident. Right now, 3 forks were in front of them. The information the corpse had provided was ignored. Split the troops 3 ways? They didn't dare. Even though the terrain here was completely different from Kanji Forests, the 32 players wipeout was still fresh in their minds. Players that come here from the dungeons will have seen them, someone said. There's no way they can stop them. It'd be too late by the time we get there. What if they used this opening to slip out of Line Canyon? Everyone immediately froze. Maybe it'd be best to get back to the Line Canyon entrances? Looks like that's our only option, the guilds discussed, and in the end, that was their final decision. Their discussion didn't go on for very long this time. After admiring the vestiges of battle for a short moment, they quickly returned to guard duty. The players from the dungeon entrances that had rushed over reported back. No one had found them. F***CK, they really ran off, someone cursed. Maybe they've temporarily hidden themselves, another guessed. Both possibilities made them want to go crazy, but they had no way of verifying. All 100 players coughed blood and then went to guard the entrances. The players who had been guarding the dungeon entrances were given another order, to scout around the leveling area and search for traces of Lord Grimm's group without exposing their identity. Chapter 223, Wild Boss Discovered. 2 a.m., Line Canyon. The pitiful players of the 7 guilds weren't sleeping, leveling, dungeoning, or questing, but were forced to blindly search the leveling areas instead. The players at the dungeon entrances weren't having it any better either. They were extremely lonely. Even worse were the 100 players outside of Kanji City. They had already been waiting for so long. They searched the leveling areas and possible quest locations, but found nothing. And just like this, half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. News of Lord Grimm's group suddenly popped up in front of everyone. System announcement: congratulations to players Lord Grimm, Cleansing Mist, Soft Mist, Steamed Bun Invasion, and 1-inch Ash for breaking the Line Canyon record. Time: 29 hours 51 minutes and 44 seconds. F***CK. This sound echoed from all around Line Canyon. The 7 guilds had searched madly around the entire world, while their targets went to set a dungeon record. The Line Canyon dungeon record had already been broken by Lord Grimm twice. In the past, whenever Lord Grimm's team broke the record, they always did by more than 1 minute. Afterwards, no one could even hope to compete, but these 2 records that were set by them had only improved the record by a bit. It wasn't as ridiculous. However, now that they thought about it, right now, Lord Grimm's team consisted of 4 level 31s and 1 level 30. When they hit level 33, what record would they be able to achieve? As for how they had somehow escaped from under their watchful gaze, there was already no point in figuring it out. Dungeon. Guard the dungeon entrances. Everyone immediately received new orders. They could only curse as they rushed towards the dungeon entrances. Boss. Wild boss, more news arrive. Of course, the messenger didn't send it to everyone, it was only sent to his guild leader. There's no one else here. It's only me. This place is really empty. The player who discovered the wild boss was somewhat incoherent. They hadn't found Lord Grimm, but they had found a wild boss. Cold Knight was very moved. It's been such a terrible night. Who could have suffered more than my tyrannical ambition? Maybe the system is feeling sorry and is taking care of us? The Cold Knight stayed silent. In the currently sparse Line Canyon, they might be able to take down the wild boss without anyone knowing. But the other guilds were still guarding the Line Canyon entrances. If he suddenly maneuvered a large amount of troops, he might arouse their suspicion. As a result, Cold Knight reported this news to Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu hadn't logged out yet and was still in the 10th server. He was currently together with the 4 other experts that had come from the Heavenly Domain. Their wipeout half an hour ago was still looping through their minds. It truly wasn't a happy memory. They had specially come over to compete with Lord Grimm for the dungeon records, but they had been defeated by their opponents in direct combat. They weren't even been able to last long enough for backup to arrive. In just a few minutes, they had bit the dust. If news of this got out, how could they have the face to consider themselves top-tier experts? They'd probably become a laughing stock. Poplar Beach was an example of this. If Poplar Beach were to ever have the chance to turn back time, he definitely wouldn't try to challenge Lord Grimm. Even if he decided that they would battle, he would go in with an alternative account. Unfortunately, that wasn't what happened. Poplar Beach dueled Lord Grimm and lost extremely miserably. Who knew how many players had already gone to laugh at him? Ever since then, Poplar Beach never appeared online again. Thinking of Poplar Beach, Zhang Yu and the others could only feel that they were considered lucky. They were, at least, wearing armor and weren't the center of everyone's attention. Lord Grimm was very strong, but Zhang Yu and the others wanted to redeem themselves. During the past half an hour, they had been discussing the strategy and tactics Lord Grimm's team had employed, Lord Grimm's difficult to deal with unspecialized, as well as how they would beat them next time. What about Lord Grimm? Zhang Yu was more concerned with Lord Grimm. Cold Knight was startled. Lord Grimm had just gone on TV, did Zhang Yu not see it? What had they been doing the past 30 minutes? They were dungeoning. They just broke the record. Cold Knight could only say the truth. Record. Zhang Yu immediately checked the record leaderboards. He looked at it and then let out a sigh of relief. It doesn't look like it's anything impressive. Yeah, they probably weren't going all out, Cold Knight said. By the time we wait for them to go all out, it'll be too late. Have you found their location yet? Zhang Yu asked. No. What do you mean no? Zhang Yu was not in a good mood. We didn't know how they got into the dungeon. This time, we'll guard the dungeon entrances better, Cold Knight could only try and explain. They can still dungeon one more time. If we guard the Line Canyon entrances, we'll definitely catch them, Zhang Yu said. Okay, then what about the wild boss? Let's go. Do we need more players? No need. More players will attract too much attention, Zhang Yu replied. He suppressed the urge to prove that they really were experts. Okay, Cold Knight said. After setting the dungeon record, Yi Shu immediately led the group away. We can't continue dungeoning, Yi Shu said. Previously, they had gone around the guild players in order to enter the dungeon, but there was no way they could ensure that they wouldn't be found this time. They wound around the map until they reached a very remote place. They looked around and there wasn't a single person there, which meant that they hadn't been discovered. If I knew of this earlier, then we could have ran it one more time. Well, whatever. Let's just kill some monsters and level here, Yi Shu said. Then I'll be going off, Su Mucheng said. Me too, Chao Yifan said. The pro players couldn't stay up all night. Go ahead. The two players said bye. Only Yi Shu, Tang Ru, and Steam Bun Invasion could stay up and play until daylight. Pay attention to any suspicious movements. The other side might be looking for us, Yi Shu warned them. Even though the monsters here weren't as strong as the monsters in the dungeons, they could still be used as practice. Yi Shu gave them a limited practice set to see who would advance through it. The three players had previously cleared monsters like this in this desolate area in Line Canyon. Yi Shu was looking around at the surroundings. His camera turned and found something. Oh? Isn't that the legendary wild boss? Chapter 224, False Report. Line Canyon's wild boss, Cliff Ronin Alpine, was the strongest monster in this map. Currently, he was clothed in a black gown and was pacing back and forth with a katana on his shoulder. Boss, to Steam Bun Invasion, the word boss was very attracting. Retreat, retreat, Yi Shu said. The two didn't understand why he said so, but listened anyways. There's someone following him from behind, Yi Shu's Lord Grim hid behind a rock. What type of person? Tang Ru asked. Someone watching the boss. I'm guessing there's going to be some people coming to kill him soon, Yi Shu replied to Tang Ru, while analyzing the map. Steamed Bun Invasion, on the other hand, was rolling around, a front roll and then a back roll and so on. Steamed Bun, what are you doing? Investigating, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Investigating what? Yi Shu asked. That sword's really long. Good, in a bit, you guys will need to be careful. This boss's weapon has the range of a broadsword and the attack speed of a tachi, Yi Shu said. Oh, we're going to kill it? Tang Ru said. Of course. But there's already people there, Tang Ru said. Stealing a wild boss. I like it, Steam Bun Invasion licked his lips. That's not polite, no, Tang Ru felt embarrassed to do so. They're from Tyrannical Ambition, Yi Shu said. Oh, then what are we waiting for? Tang Ru immediately changed her mind. If we go right now, we won't be able to finish the boss before Tyrannical Ambition's players arrive, Yi Shu said. So, like Steam Bun said, we're going to steal it, Yi Shu said. Ha 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 ha. Quiet down, Steam Bun, Yi Shu hastily reminded him. Steam Bun Invasion fell silent. Tang Ru had her soft miss stick her head out to look around, but there's only 3 of us. For an event like a wild boss, Tyrannical Ambition definitely won't want to alert the other guilds, so their movements must be small. They probably won't have too many players come either, Yi Shu said. What if there are a lot? Then all we can do is announce it on the World Channel to make many more people come, Yi Shu said. Ha ha ha, senior, you're too evil, Steam Bun Invasion laughed. It's called strategy, Yi Shu corrected him. The 3 hid behind a rock like this, peeking out from time to time. The Tyrannical Ambitions player was carefully following the Cliff Ronin Alpine from a certain distance, afraid that he would enter the Ronin's aggro range. The Cliff Ronin deserved his name. As soon as he spawned, he would slowly wander around Line Canyon. We don't know how long this guy's been watching the boss, but he still hasn't encountered anyone else. We've really struck gold this time, Yishu said. He has, Steamed Bun Invasion said. If he had, then it'd have been stolen long ago. Senior, we're also people, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Yishu was speechless and just stopped talking. Are we just going to hide until they come? Tang Ru asked. Hiding here is fine. But if the boss goes too far, it'll be troublesome. Please get here faster, Yishu said. It wasn't even time to kill the boss and they were already growing worried. It seems like the more he walks, the farther he gets, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Is there a possibility that the boss could suddenly turn around? Tang Ru asked. I've never really researched that, Yishu said. In reality, he was looking at a Cliff Ronin Alpine guide right now. Why can't we go to that side? What type of terrain do we need? Tang Ru asked. One that's close enough. Since we'll be moving out later, we have to be able to pull the boss's aggro when we move out as well as wipe out their players. If not, then if even one player on their team survives and is still considered in battle, then even if we kill the boss will still be theirs. Understand? Yishu explained. So you're saying that as soon as we expose ourselves we have to quickly close in. Compared to killing the boss, wiping out the other players is more important, Tang Ru said. Correct. See where the boss is going? There's nowhere for us to hide over there. If the battle goes over there, then it doesn't matter how perfect our timing is because by the time we rush over there, they'll have discovered us. Under that type of situation, it'll be very difficult to steal the boss, Yishu said. Then what do we do? Tang Ru was also growing worried now, it really is going farther and farther away. Worst case scenario, we can try our previous strategy, Yishu said. What strategy? First we wait for Tyrannical Ambitions players, Yishu said, so slow. They're here, Steamed Bun Invasion suddenly said. Get your head back down here, Steamed Bun. How many? 5, Steamed Bun Invasion said. Only 5? Yishu hadn't expected this. It was a wild boss. He thought that there would be at least 10. There's 5. I'm not wrong. Got it, Yishu nodded his head. Your strategy? Tang Ru asked. The boss was too far away for their quickly rush in strategy. Pay attention to the world chat, Yishu said and then immediately typed out a message. Lord Grimm, Line Canyon, 2441, 3212, wild boss discovered. Hurry. Even though most messages in the world chat would instantly vanish, Lord Grimm's name was too eye-catching. This was a name that many players cursed. Wild boss, Line Canyon exploded with noise. Many players were already itching to head over. How? Cold Knight immediately asked the person watching over the boss. The boss isn't over there. The person hastily replied. Wait, Chen Yahui suddenly shouted, but besides the people surrounding him, no one else could hear his voice amidst the loud racket, but the people around him were enough because these were the people who commanded the troops. Was he really that lucky to find the boss, or is he trying to lure us away? Chen Yahui said. Cold Knight loathed Chen Yahui and his excellent dynasty, but right now, Cold Knight found Chen Yahui's comradeship incomparably cute. His words were too on point. Right now, Cold Knight didn't want everyone to begin looking for the boss from this false report. It would ruin their chance at secretly killing the boss. Chen Yahui might be able to persuade the players here, but what about others? The ones who were scattered throughout the leveling area or those dungeoning. Even though it was late at night, Lord Grimm would still attract the interest of quite a few players, no? He had deliberately given false info to escape amidst the confusion. Cold Knight hated Lord Grimm to the core. That guy had this trick up his sleeve and he just had to use it when they found the boss. Go to F** King Hell. Chapter 225, A Separating Wall. How's it going over there? Cold Knight asked the person watching the boss. Guild leaders here. The boss has also been pulled, but Lord Grimm is too dirty. We have to bring the boss further in and try to hide it. Sigh. Cold Knight could only sigh. Luckily, the players guarding the Line Canyon entrances had been stopped by Chen Yahui. Looking at the time, if Lord Grimm's group went to dungeon, they should be done soon, so the players who are guarding the dungeon entrances cannot leave. Open your eyes widely, Chen Yahui said to everyone. He then sent a message in secret, coordinates 2441, 3212, go check it for me. Chen Yahui wasn't lacking in manpower. He had invested a lot in the 10th server. He had already moved a large number of players trying to suppress Lord Grimm, and a considerable amount of elites were leveling and dungeoning as well. Chen Yahui was hiding his strength, so there were many who weren't participating. However, these players, who were hidden in the darkness, were without a doubt excellent Dynasty's most loyal and skilled players. Right now, he was telling the 6 other guild's players that it was a plot by Lord Grimm, while holding back it'd be better to believe it than not to, and sent players to the coordinates to check. However, in his eyes, only the 100 players at Line Canyon had been held. As for the other 6 guilds' possibly hidden players, he had no way of stopping them. In Line Canyon, Tang Ru asked Yi Shu, "That's your strategy?" "Yeah, to scare them," Yi Shu said. "Oh? Those coordinates aren't accurate, but right now, a lot of players in Line Canyon are going to head over there and they might pass by here. They'll definitely bring the boss to a place where they won't be found," Yi Shu said. "Oh really?" Tang Ru replied, while listening to the sounds of battle. "It seems like they're coming over," Tang Ru whispered. "Yeah. Won't we be found if we stay here?" Tang Ru looked at the surrounding terrain. "They won't be coming here unless they plan on bumping into players heading to the fake coordinates from the dungeons," Yi Shu said. The 3 no longer dared to say any more. The Cliff Ronin quickly whistled by and Tyrannical Ambition's 6 players surrounded it. The person in front pulled the Cliff Ronin back, while the people at the rear used blow-away and knockbacks to push the boss forward. Here was a small slope. From afar, it looked like a cliff, splitting this area's Line Canyon in 2. As of right now, the 3 were hiding on the left side of the cliff, while Tyrannical Ambition's players were heading towards the right side of the cliff. It was the place where they had first seen the boss. "Look, if it keeps heading that way, it'll be convenient for us and we'll have a good cover." Yi Shu's plan succeeded. He had completely predicted what the other side would do. Tyrannical Ambition's 6 players consisted of Zhang Yu's group and the player who had discovered the boss. After Lord Grimm announced the fake coordinates on the world chat, Zhang Yu cursed while hastily guiding the boss to a different area. Right now, the players at Line Canyon were increasing. The further they were from the fake coordinates, the better. They had to escape the onrush of players coming there as well. Zhang Yu looked at the map and chose the only safe spot, which just happened to be the spot Yi Shu wanted. They were worthy of being great experts of the heavenly domain. After picking the correct path, they quickly pulled the boss over. "They've gone further. Let's go," Yi Shu called. Tang Ru and Steam Bun Invasion followed behind Lord Grimm as they drilled out from behind the cliff. The cliff wasn't too high or steep, so the 3 climbed up. When they climbed up onto the wall, Tang Ru looked at the IDs of the players fighting the boss. "It's that team from before." Soft Mist peeked out and then quickly pulled back. "Oh, that team. Their skill level's pretty high," Yi Shu said. "Senior," Steam Bun Invasion said. If we jump down from here, will we die?" Steam Bun Invasion looked down, studying the cliff's height. The ground grew more and more distant as they climbed up the slope. They were no longer at the height they were at before. "We won't die. We'll probably be half dead," Yi Shu said. "How high till we fall to our deaths?" "I'll tell you when it happens," Yi Shu replied. "How steep does it have to be for us to stand steadily on top of it?" Tang Ru asked another question. Compared to Steam Bun Invasion, it was a question of better quality. "Oh, there's no standard for that. It depends on the terrain. A slope will affect a character's move speed. One of the guides I gathered for you earlier talks about this," Yi Shu said. "Really? I haven't seen any." The 3 continued chatting as they glanced down from time to time. "If we continue going up, won't we eventually exit Line Canyon?" Tang Ru asked. "We're almost at the end. This is just one small mountain in Line Canyon," Yi Shu said. After climbing up for a bit, Yi Shu called for the other two to halt. Okay, let's go down. Look, steamed bun. At this height, if we directly jump down, we'll die. Oh, I see. Steamed bun invasion looked at how high up they were. Then he discovered that there were players on the left side of the cliff as well, but they weren't looking up. Oh, there are players coming from the dungeon. They're going to those coordinates, Yi Shu said. The three hid on the cliff, between two sides. On the left were players looking for the boss, and on the right were players attacking the boss. Quite a few players had already reached the fake coordinates, but after seeing no sign of the boss, they began telling everyone in the world chat. However, the players heading over wouldn't believe them and continued to rush there. 2441, 3212. The place at those coordinates was already becoming more and more lively. The ones who hadn't arrived yet were rushing over there. After arriving, they would begin searching around. Those without parties would ask to party up, and those who were already in a party were asking for players to join their party. On Yi Shu's side, they had already found an opportunity to climb down the small slope and a small pit to hide in. When are we going to move out? Tang Ru was tired of waiting. It's still too early, Yi Shu said. With only 6 players, it'll take at least half an hour. We'll just sit here for now. Everyone can go and watch some TV or take a look at a guide, whatever you want. I'm going to get some water, Tang Ru said. Then, what should I do? Steamed bun invasion was currently in deep thought. The other two had already stopped moving.